So this isn't looking up and closing your eyes like on a nice sunny day. That's relaxing. This is looking up and actually looking up at the ceiling. It actually triggers some of the areas of the brain that are involved in wakefulness. So if you're somebody who's falling asleep at your work, this can be very beneficial. Likewise, many people are looking at their phone all day and their chin is down, and then they're sitting at a computer that's positioned below them and they're having trouble staying awake or focusing.
Welcome to the Mindset by Design podcast with your host, the expert Andy Murphy, where you will learn the tips, tricks, and strategies he teaches his world-class clients to give you the skills to dominate any business.
What's going on, Mindset by Design crew, and welcome to episode 353. Hope you're amazing as always, your week is going badass, and you're having fun in life. Do you know, we might as well. Sometimes we forget. It was funny, I was talking to a client the other day about this, and real successful Amazon business doing millions of dollars a year, and you know, sometimes we get caught up in the day-to-day. We get caught up in all the details. We get caught up in our vision. We get caught up in our mission. We get caught up in the bling, the security, the safety, the ego. But at the end of the day, isn't this life supposed to be fun? Aren't we supposed to be enjoying it? Do you know what I mean? Think about it. If we didn't know about society and society said to us, hey, do you know what? To feel fulfilled, excited, and happy, you need a car. You need a car that looks like this. Not just a normal car, because that's a car, but this is what's going to really make you fulfilled. If we didn't know any of that stuff, man, what would we be doing each day? Yeah, we'd be going to get food, water. Do you know what I mean? Look, hanging out with our family, looking after everyone around us, helping people, man. Do you know what I mean? And so what we've got to remember is is what would genetically make us fulfilled. It really, really would. If you're a long-term listener, then I've said this probably like 20 times, but the happiest people I've ever seen are the Fijians and Balinese who are living in the simplest lives. They're living in the simplest communities. And, you know, there's always something about that I really looked at and went, wow, maybe you got it worked out. Maybe you got it worked out. Who knows? But at the end of the day, we just got to have fun. We got to enjoy this ride. We got to enjoy this life. The anxiety, the stresses, the fears that we seem to get used to, well, they're not really real. Do you know what I mean? It's like I'm in Latin America right now, and if you can't pay your bills, then you're in real trouble, right? The government is not looking after you, really, not too much. In America and the UK, especially the UK, man, it's like if you can't pay your bills, you'll be all right. You know, you'll get food on the table. It might not be like caviar, man, but you'll be able to get food. It doesn't work like that everywhere, right? So we've got to be really, truly, just be grateful, man. We've got to be grateful for the people that we have around us. We've got to be grateful that we can put food on the table, pay our bills, although it might be tight sometimes. It doesn't matter. Can you survive? Yeah. Then you win, man. So you might as well just enjoy the ride every single day, because there's going to be a moment that this computer game we call life stops. It is, man. Ooh, have you thought about that recently when you're worried about all of those things? Right, once we have that realization and make peace with that this computer game of life will come to an end, then we might as well enjoy what we're doing right now, right? Right, I don't know where that came from. That was my rant going on this morning, but I hope you're awesome is my main point. And speaking of awesome things, this is going to be an awesome episode. It's a clip I've pulled from Dr. Huberman. Dr. Huberman, if you don't know, he's the head of the Stanford Research Department of Neuroscience. He's a beast. He's just a beast. Everything he does is awesome. And what was crazy, this is actually about fatigue, tired, something I teach with personal clients. We'll be teaching in the Radical Formula. I teach all over the place, but we have mental and physical fatigue, and they are actually different, so because they're different, we have different scales or how we interrupt them or change them, right? Because we've got to become self-aware, or we've got to become consciously aware of where we are in that scale, mental or physical fatigue, or maybe both, man. But what this clip is about is pretty brilliant. He shows you the neuroscience behind how to switch off feeling tired. Do you know what I mean? Because in the afternoon we all get there. For me, I like to start early. I really like to start early in the day working. Because ultimately, I'd love to be finished by 9 a.m. I would. Because anything that I have later on in the day plays in the background of my mind. And it doesn't matter if I have the whole day off, if I've got one meeting at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock or something, and it might be only 5 minutes long, doesn't matter. It plays in the back of my head. So what happens is that for most people, guess what? You get mentally drained, you get physically exhausted. Maybe you didn't get a good night's sleep, and then maybe you get in brain fog. Maybe that's affecting your brain chemicals, and so you're not firing on all cylinders. Kind of like what's going on with me right now, right? But the point to this is there's a simple little hack to be able to overcome that response, that sleep response in the brain, and it's with eye movement. And you got the little clip at the start of the show, right? Well, we're going to go into it in more detail, and then we'll break it down as I do in all these episodes. So that's what we got going on today. It's pretty awesome. So speaking of awesome, make sure right now, this is it. We're launching the Radical Formula. It launches next week. Everything's ready to go. We're going to be doing our first masterclass in May. It's going to be epic. It's called Riches Are in the Niches. Yes, it's going to be 2 days. It's about an hour and a half a day. You're going to love it. And then guess what? That's your first intro to me and Ryan. Remember, Ryan has worked with Apple, Microsoft, Verizon, NFL in marketing. So he's one of the top guys around, right? Top 24 podcast in the world. And in business, he's a badass, So me and him teamed up, and we want to help you cut through the noise of social media, actually learn some classical marketing, fine-tune your brain, unlock your pure potential, and then help you scale all the way to 7 figures. And really, freedom. That's all it is. And maybe freedom happens way before then, but either way, it's freedom. So from amateurs to pros to people starting off or really deep into this world, we just want to help, man. So if you're a coach, fitness coach, health coach, any type of coach or service-based, this is for you. So head over to theradicalformula.com right now. There's a new website up. You can click on free. Yes, free, man. Free trainings, you know what I mean? And you'll be able to go to find out more information. But yeah, you need to look out for this. The Radical Formula. So if you are growing that business, go and head over to the show notes. There's loads of links. Come and find me on social media. Do something, right? It's time to make 2022 your best year of your life. And we want to be there for you with our tribe community, the mastermind, and the master classes we're going to be pumping out every month on a different topic. So head over to the Radical Formula, and should we jump into this episode? Let's do it. Speaking of doing it, let's jump into this episode, and I will see you at the end of the show. Go to theradicalformula.com right now.
What I'm about to describe next is going to seem so silly on the face of it, but has deep mechanism to support it. Put simply, when you get tired, your eyelids close. And when you're alert, your eyelids are open. That is because you have neurons in your brain that, depending on your level of alertness, will make it easy or hard to keep your eyes open. Now, that's a complete duh, except that we don't often think about the relationship between alertness and where we are looking and our eyelids. Now, I learned this from a colleague of mine in psychiatry who happens to work on hypnosis. I'm not going to hypnotize you right now. That's actually for a future episode. But what happens when we get tired? Our eyelids close and our chin moves down. We tend to nod out this way. If you have ever been in a classroom, certainly not one of mine, but if you've been in a classroom and the lecture is kind of drawing on, or it's the afternoon, what you'll notice is that a number of students, their heads are their eyelids are closing and their chin is dropping, and then you'll see a bunch of heads bouncing back up. All right, I was definitely one of those people in class. If it was post-lunch in the afternoon, it's warm, the hum of the air conditioner or whatever it is, and I just out. Okay. When we're wide awake, the opposite happens. Our eyelids are open all the way, and our chin happens to be up. And no, this is not me telling you to have good posture. However, what I learned from my colleague at Stanford is that these circuits actually act in loops. When we look up, maybe it's because these melanopsin cells are in the bottom of our retina. They are. And maybe it's because they're there in order to view sunlight, which is overhead, which it is. But that system of alertness is linked to the position of our eyes. So when we look up and our eyelids are up, it actually has a purpose. It actually creates a wakefulness signal for the brain. And so while this might seem like the silliest and simple tool that I might ever describe on this podcast, if you are feeling tired, it actually can be beneficial to the wakefulness systems of the brain, including the locus ceruleus and these areas that release norepinephrine, to actually look up toward the ceiling. You don't want your chin all the way back, but to look up and to raise your eyes toward the ceiling and to look up and try and hold that for 10 to 15 seconds. So this isn't looking up and closing your eyes like on a nice sunny day. That's relaxing. This is looking up and actually looking up at the ceiling. It actually triggers some of the areas of the brain that are involved in wakefulness. So if you're somebody who's falling asleep at your work, this can be very beneficial.
Okay, crew, let me jump in there. Well, for a start, I love that he talked about hypnosis. Pretty epic. It's one of the big components of what I do. I just call it lots of different things. Trance, brainwaves, installations. I call it all of these things because really what hypnosis is, it's very different to guided meditation. Although if you don't know the difference, hypnosis just sounds like guided meditation. But hypnosis is actually understanding brainwave frequencies, dropping you into basically your brain's software, and understanding the language that you say embeds commands and also guides the emotional and the imagery and the senses to retrain the visuals to think, feel, and act a different way inside the head, which tells the body how to behave. Plain and simple. So that's hypnosis. But what's really, really cool is that what he's talking about is looking up. And did you notice the difference? Don't look up with your eyes closed because that's really peaceful, which could take you into sleep even deeper, right? Does that make sense? So if we think of that sunny day and we close our eyes and we look up, kind of drifts us off, right? Two components why this is very, very different. Something that is taught in hypnosis is we actually close our eyes and we flutter our eyes up. That creates what starts to put our brain into REM, which is very interesting, which is very good for what? Yeah, going into trance, going into relaxation, going into hypnosis. So it's also connected to your visual cortex of the brain, the visual components of your brain when you look up. So that's very interesting as well. Now he's talking about different neurons connecting to the eyes, which again, he's Huberman, right? So he's a badass at all of that stuff. But I'm talking it from a different perspective. But combined, that's very, very interesting. So there's a subtle difference, right? We close our eyelids. Then it seems to put us into relaxation. Doesn't matter where our eye movement is. When we open our eyes or keep our eyes open, guess what? Well, then it seems that we engage a different response. So that looking up, well, yeah, I love it, right? So we get sun input, which creates different hormones in our body to regulate us, and that in itself creates alertness, right? Even looking up, because there's going to be a part of us genetically, primarily, as we look up and look around. Well, that's also a defense mechanism. Why? Because we're not going to get attacked by pterodactyls anymore, but the genetics are still there. Maybe not pterodactyls, but you get what I'm point, right? So that is in itself really, really profound. So the other thing is, why don't you just test it? I've been testing it. I'm sitting here with my eyes going flicking up and my eyelids open, and it's, what time is it? It's 11 minutes past 9 in the morning, but hey, I've been going since 6 a.m. So test it. But I love this. Thank you, Mr. Huberman. Or I should say doctor.
Likewise, many people are looking at their phone all day and their chin is down, and then they're sitting at a computer that's positioned below them and they're having trouble staying awake or focusing. It can be very I tell Costello this all the time because he's always falling asleep while he's trying to do his work. Positioning your computer screen up at eye level, or sometimes having it actually above eye level, can actually create wakefulness and alertness for the work that you're going to do. This is simply because of this connection between the brainstem circuits and the other neural circuits that control wakefulness and eyelids opening and looking up. Okay, so it's remarkably simple, almost laughably simple, but it's grounded in some of the most hardwired, meaning present from birth, aspects of our neural circuitry. And norepinephrine released from locus coeruleus isn't just a mouthful. It's a really interesting and powerful mechanism for how the rest of the brain wakes up. Locus coeruleus hoses the rest of your brain with norepinephrine in order to wake up those circuits for work and attention. And so eyes up is actually a route into increased alertness. Eyes down is a route into sleepiness.
I just want to jump in there, crew. Just think about that, right? Well, brilliant in itself, right? You're looking down, you're using your phone, and that puts you into, you're hardwired to put you into a restful relaxation state. So think about that. That's even more crazy when I look at it from an influence standpoint or a subliminal embedded standpoint into the unconscious mind, because what that means is also, look at cell phones, right? Look at a screen. If we're looking at it down, guess what we're doing? What these just explained. We start to take our body into a relaxation state. What does that mean? Now, go with me here. Go with me. That means that we are dropping brainwave frequency, which means we have access to the internal software. And if you are looking down at something and the images that are on that screen or the sounds, then guess what? They are going to be unconsciously embedded in your brain real fast. So that's really scary to me. And I mean this, like, that is genuinely scary to me. Why? Well, for the simple fact that we're controlled. Whatever we're watching becomes our dominant thoughts. So if you're looking at social media and you're looking at all of these, you're scrolling through mad things and it doesn't make you feel good, then those images are actually being embedded in your head. Think about that. That is very dangerous. It's all good. You could use it as a performance enhancing tool for sure, right? If you're watching and listening to the correct images, then they're going to be embedded much faster into your head. But on the general aspect of people, most people ain't doing that, especially with social media. It's a lot of moaning and noise and opinions and ego, right? That's a lot of social media. That's why me and Ryan are going to do things different. But the truth is behind it, be so careful what you're watching on your screen, because if your head's down, man, we already know the result.
Into reduced alertness. And I have only one friend that texts up here, like on the street, holds his phone up here. It looks ridiculous. And yet, if we were trying to create more sense of alertness, if that's your goal, positioning computer screens up high, chin up, looking up if you need to kind of create an alertness signal, not always being chin down and texting or working into typewriters or reading below us, is actually going to send a recurring wakefulness signal. When things are up, we tend to be alert. When everything's focused down, including our eyes, it tends to have a more suppressive or sedative type signaling to the deeper centers of the brain.
So, crew, interesting little episode, hey? Yeah, it was for me too. It's a short one. If you want a nice long one, there's 352 more episodes for you to play with. Yeah, and I also want you to use these episodes like a library. I haven't said this in a long time, but I really do. This is different from most podcasts that are out there. This is more, informative, motivational, educational. It's different, right? So I want you to use it like a library. Go back, choose topics, and really put your own like mini sessions together. Do you know what I mean? To get you through whatever it is you're going through. That was the whole goal with the podcast in general, was to help people and bring a community together. That's it, man. That's it. So speaking of that is it, guess what? I think that's it. The end of episode 353. I hope you got lots out of that. I know I did, especially head up, head down, right? Two very different responses in the neurobiology and the neurochemistry, and just how you're feeling. Do you feel awesome or not? Right? That's it. So do you feel sleepy or awake? That's all you got to ask yourself. So end of episode 353. So make sure that you're heading over to theradicalformula.com right now. Make sure that you're connecting with me on social media. Andy Murphy Mindset. Come and find me anywhere. Groups, just everywhere. Just come. Actually, connect with me on Instagram. I'm going to be building my Instagram account. So come over there. Just Andy Murphy Mindset. Right. Do it. Until the next time, much love. Give me a review, especially on Spotify or Apple. And until next time, much love. And one more thing. Why don't you smile for me?
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode of the Mindset by Design podcast with your host and NLP expert, Andy Murphy. We'll catch you next time.